afternoon. Let's begin the meeting of the Board of Trustees of Texas Southmost College District. Trustees present tonight are Ms. Rosemary Breedlove, Ms. Dolly Zimmerman, Dr. Roberto Robles, Mr. David Oliveira is out of town, and Mr. Campirano is handling some important business tonight. We also have Dr. Garcia present. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Garcia to make some announcements, please.
I'd like to introduce Dr. Pearson, who is going to make an introduction himself.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the Division of Partnership Affairs is pleased to announce the appointment of Mr. Alan Peaks to the position of Assistant Vice President for Facilities Services. Al began work in his new position on Monday, August 20th. Al has over 25 years of professional experience in property management and real estate development. Among his work experience is Director of Humanities for the Montclair, New Jersey Public Schools, Assistant to the Dean of the School of Education at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. Most recently, Al was Senior Vice President for Hopkins Sampson Brown and Excalibur Group in Bluffton, South Carolina, near Hilton Head. Al grew up in Dedham, Massachusetts. He received his bachelor's degree, did his graduate work at the School of Ed at University of Massachusetts at Amherst. He's married to his wife, Phyllis. They have 3 stepchildren, and I'd like to ask Al to say a couple of words.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Members of the public, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, members of the staff, it's a privilege and an honor to be here tonight. I have found this campus to be beautiful and welcoming. I hope to be a good steward, as all of you have been. It's clear from the hours and the effort that you put in, the love and professionalism that flows from all of you goes out onto this campus and makes it the jewel that it is. I look forward to working with you all and hope to help the school achieve its goals and fulfill its mission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to also now introduce Dr. Charles Dameron, who will make a couple of introductions.
Good evening. From the Division of Academic Affairs, I would like to introduce 2 of our new administrative personnel. I'll begin with a familiar face. I'd like to introduce Dr. Gail Brogdon, who is serving as the Interim Dean of the School of Education. Mr. Brogdon. Gail Brogdon has served this institution for 29 years. As a faculty member and as administrator, for many years he has been the Assistant Dean for the School of Education and our Certification Officer. This is the second time that Dr. Brogdon has taken on additional leadership responsibilities and served as Interim Dean during the transition. So I want to thank Gail very much for his willingness to take this responsibility on and help us through the next academic year. Gail, would you have any words that you would like to leave? You've heard Gail on a number of other occasions. I would like to introduce also a new face, Dr. Musa Essayad, who is the Assistant Dean of the School of Business. Dr. Essayad has 30 years of experience from academic, business, and government positions. Prior to joining UTB-TSC, he was the holder of endowed chairs at the University of Alaska at Anchorage and at the University of Petroleum and Minerals in Saudi Arabia, where he helped to establish an endowment foundation. He has published many articles and books on finance, banking, and energy. And among other things, he will provide leadership in the coming years with us for our AACSB accreditation efforts in the School of Business. Dr. Essayad.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dameron. It's indeed gratifying to be in this distinguished group. It is nice to come back to the U.S. after serving in Saudi Arabia for 6 years as the Saudi British Bank Chair, Professor of Finance. I had some experiences there that was enriching. I had experiences in the United Nations with OPEC, in oil and gas industry, and I would like to bring the experience that I accumulated during the last 30 years, and I'm getting old. I'd like to share these experiences with this institution, and it is inspiring for me every time I listen to Dr. Garcia, and I would like to meet her expectation. We as administrators trying to achieve and accomplish the goals that were set by this great institution. I will work hard in order to help our college accomplish the ACSP accreditation, and I hope the whole community will support us, and I hope that this advisor group that our dean is establishing will help us achieve that goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The board will now convene an executive session provided by the Government Code. Thank you for waiting. The board will now convene in regular session. Items discussed on number 2 are consideration possible actions on matters discussed in executive session, being some real estate purchases. The first item is a contract and resolution for the purchase of Fort Brownsville number 1, unit 3013 in Brownsville. This item is not going to be taking any action because the property is no longer available to us for purchase. The next item is a contract and resolution to purchase Fort Brownsville 2 unit 8E, and I would ask for a motion to approve the contract and resolution for the acquisition of this unit in the amount of $42,000.
I so move.
Second. Motion has been made by Ms. Breedlove, second by Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. We move on to item number 3, is the approval of the minutes of the June 21, August 7th, August 20th, and August 23rd meetings. I ask that you please look at those minutes to make a recommendation.
Mr. Chair, I move that they be approved as written.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. Motion has been made by Ms. Dolly Zimmerman.
Second.
Second by Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Next is item number 4, speakers to the agenda and public discussion. We have 2 speakers, and I would remind the speakers that we have a limit of 2 minutes and that your discussions be addressed to agenda items only. So first item on the signing sheet is Mr. Fernando Ruiz.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
every meeting that I go to, sir, the first thing we do is address the flag. We have not got the flag, pledge of allegiance to the national flag and to the Texas flag.
Yes, sir.
This is standard procedure. And you do not practice that here? I will proceed in my presentation.
My name is Fernando Ruiz. I live here in Brownsville, Texas. I am a product of this university, and I am here to address this committee, Mr. Chair, and the members of the board and Mrs. Garcia concerning the tax rate that you want to increase the taxes. Well, you know, some years back when you were trying to get the bond at St. Mary's Church, I heard in all the meetings that I went that we were not going to have a tuition increase or a tax increase. Now somebody's going back on their word. I had no input at the time because I wanted to participate with the school. I wanted to say, okay, fine, I'm going to keep my mouth shut this time around so that they can go ahead and see if they get the bond approved because I'm with the program. No higher tuition, no more taxes, roll it. Now here, so many months later, you want a higher tax rate or you want more money from taxes? There's already a ceiling. We cannot address that. In the value of property, well, instead of going up, because we have a Department of Economics here, they can tell you that the market has tumbled, and what happens when that happens? The prices of the properties go down. So what happens? The taxes also have to follow suit. So this is contrary to theory, what we're trying to do here. And you know, I want, and I'm going to ask you to stand to what you promised. We have already missed one of the promises, because now we have higher tuition for students. And you know, we just found out yesterday's paper, this is the poorest country, the poorest city in the nation. And we promised our students that the tuitions will not go up. And we have failed them. We have failed them. I know you cannot answer me, but you know, I am completely against this. And you know, we need more transparency here in the university. We need more transparency. And you have to answer the question to yourself, because I'm out of here, but the students, a lot of them are not attending school because of the tuition. Their families can't afford it. You have failed the community. And I'm sorry to hear that, because we backed you up 100%. And we don't want any more taxes. We don't want any more. We're up to here. Everywhere I go, everybody wants more money. And you know what? They only raised the minimum wage for poor working people here, 60 cents. But by the time they haven't even got their first check, they go to HEB, the milk is $4 now, and the dozen of eggs is $1.70. So what did they get? What kind of game is this? It's not a game. You're talking about people. You're talking about families. You're talking about feelings. And we're in the wrong step. We're out of step. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. Next speaker is Mr. Dagoberto Barrera.
The first thing, my name is Dagoberto Barrera. Honorable Chair, Honorable Dr. Garcia, since David Oliveira is not here, so I still call you Dr. Garcia. Fellow trustees and my fellow Americans, the first thing we see in the papers, Valley presidents, others get raises from UT. The Fenton Bridge scandal at the port shows a pattern of malfeasance and corruption in our county system, with convicted judges, sheriffs, commissioners, in Hidalgo County, Stark County, and everywhere else. I challenge you for ethical and sensible, down-to-earth approaches with our tax money. This goes to all the 5 taxing entities that tax us. Our city is on the verge of forcing an increase in our taxes again. Though our evaluations have gone up, they want more taxes. This is double taxation. The reason is that the shortfall in their budgets, and they have a problem. Most of these entities, the police department, they get grants from the federal government, yet they want more money from the local people. The census, just like Mr. Reeves mentioned, that we're the poorest and impoverished area or city in the nation. How can this institution that receives tax funds from Austin and tax money from us, when the president is getting a huge salary raise plus other entitlements, ask us for more tax money? The president of Pan American University, the Texas Health Center director in San Antonio, is also receiving huge salaries. This university bought a tract of land for $2.3 million when the same property was worth a lot less. This shows how bureaucrats in government positions disregard saving the tax money because it's government money. But that's wrong, people. It's our money. These taxes come from our properties, our salaries, our purchases, our retirement and Social Security. University President Mr. UTB will also receive $800,000. We thought that Enron was bad. Does it make any sense when each year you people in public office want more taxes from us? Our property appraised values have gone up, and so will our taxes. My question is, There's so many new subdivisions and houses on the rolls now that they're being built. Doesn't that mean that there's more money in your coffers? So you won't ask for us for our taxes? You all bought the whole Amigo Land Mall, the old Pan American Bank, several historical buildings, the Fort Brown Hotel. Do taxpayers have to pay for all this business because of your non-sensible purchases? So please, trustees, I don't know if it makes any sense to be here. Be sensible in your decisions and learn to live within your means. Every family has a budget. Otherwise, they find themselves in bankruptcy with a huge debt. Students pay high tuition fees, high-priced books, student center fees, lab fees, and probably second-hand books cannot even be used. So please, trustees, only 1, 2, 3, 4 trustees here. Hold your horses down on the increasing in our taxes, please. Have a heart. You know, last night we went to the port and we finally got that Bay Bridge company to come in and pay good wages for our workers. But we still have some problems with some of the commissioners, probably because they have some kind of interest with the dismantling companies that are here. So people, take care of our money, live within your means, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, item number 5 is a board briefing on an overview of the College of Applied Technology and General Studies. And I would call Dr. Charles Dameron to introduce our speaker.
I would like to introduce a very familiar face, Dr. Peter Gowenda, who has been with our partnership institutions for 23 years. He is here tonight wearing two hats, and he's also affectionately known as the Batman across the state for his work in helping develop the BAT and the BASS programs. Tonight, he will be here in his role as the interim dean of the College of Applied Technology and General Studies. He's also serving for the next 2 weeks, as he has been for the last 6 months, as the interim dean of the College of Science, Mathematics, and Technology. Dr. Gowenda.
Thank you very much. Good evening, board, president, and all other present individuals, especially my college. Yes, we do have a new college here on campus. It's called College of Applied Technology and General Studies, and we refer to it as the College with a Future Orientation. And my name, as it was mentioned, is Peter Gowenda, interim dean. Just a few of our members from the college, and you see them also, many of them live here. I need to point out there are 37 full-time and 29 part-time staff and faculty. We're supported by over 450 full-time and part-time faculty and staff with courses in other colleges and schools, and we're serving at this time close to 4,000 students. And we have already about 78 courses online. This is the maxim for our college because we believe very strongly that the U.S. education system must move beyond its current focus on basic competency in core subjects to promoting deeper understanding and real-world applications of content. Now, this is our so-called building block system because we try to provide the best possible education for our career technical students by expanding educational opportunities, closing the gaps, ensuring seamless transition to a building block approach, starting with certificates, associate degrees, and then bachelor degrees, and in the future we also have plan through master's degrees. So that college that serves career and technical students will have finally master's degrees, and eventually we hope it's not only also some doctor's degrees, at least one, we hope. Now, through our building block approach, we provide our students the opportunity to take their jobs to new heights. And we're actually turning jobs into careers, which is very important because we no longer want individuals to look at their being employed as just a job, but becoming careers. And looking at competitive edge, job advancement, increased salary, improved self-esteem, college degrees, and valuable professional skills and knowledge. Now, the certificates, degrees, and other programs that we have in our college are listed here. We have 4 entities: Applied Business Technology, Industrial Technology, Office of Applied Technologies, and Developmental Studies. And they have, as I said, those certificates and degrees. Now, there are some certificates and degrees offered or administered by other schools, for example, computer science in SMT, and then the Allied Health has some certificates, and the Social Applied Sciences also. Somehow it does not go as fast. Now, a little known fact is that our technical programs have mandatory success rates and have to report them annually to the state. And I'm proud to report that some of our technical programs have a 96 to 100% success rate. Now, what does that mean? It means we have to have 91% or higher job placement and continuing education beyond the AS degrees. Industrial technology commitments to service and applied technology and opportunities for students. And faculty and students actively serve the university and the community by building high-quality furniture equipment at cost savings. For example, the Biology Alzheimer's Research Center had our machine shop develop some sensitive instrumentation. And then naturally, construction technology is building office furniture for UTB-TSC and for Cameron Works and others. Applied business technology, highly qualified faculty who participate in community service and outreach, for example, in those areas. The Office of Applied Business Technologies, we have 2 bachelor's degrees, the Bachelor of Applied Technology, the BAT, with 4 tracks, and the BAS with 2 tracks. Now, the interdisciplinary has 21 blocks in different disciplines, including the new Certified Tumor Registrar block and polysomnography and the naturally educational technology, which means that the interdisciplinary degree can have a large number of varieties where students select from the blocks that fit their expectations and their careers best. And one thing that I needed to point out is that we now have 74 college campuses throughout Texas linked to our institution. And we have, by the way, 6 more pending, which means the technical students, career and technical students, can from those college campuses actually come to us online and then enroll into those 2 programs, and this primarily online. And we have right now, I think, and I mentioned that before, a large number of, gosh, it doesn't want to work. No, it goes. A large number of online courses already. First, I thought we have about 86, but when I counted, it must be over 90 now. Upper-level courses that we do have online. Now, the 2 developmental programs in the developmental studies are developmental reading And what we have done is we transitioned from computer-aided instruction into instruction by highly qualified faculty, and we now have the skill-based curriculum moved into a comprehensive approach focused on reading across the disciplines and college learning strategies. And naturally, we have aligned the curriculum with the general education core learning outcomes in order to support the 48 general core hours that every student has to take. And very recently, Leslie Jones, one of our instructors, received an award of $249,000 to redesign grants. It's called a redesign grant project for pairing developmental reading with online government courses. Now, just very briefly, and I fly through those, will be the developmental reading passing rates. They seem to go now over 60%, approaching almost 70%, meaning the pass rate at the first try has been increasing, and that one was 206 and spring 206 and fall 206. Then if we go to the math developmental, we have about 750 students here. Before that, in the other one, we had about 600 students. And there shows that students that complete the developmental program perform much better in the college level courses than students who were placed in the courses based on the placement exams. And in fact, right now we have 2 faculty members in math who started with the first developmental course.
Dr. Gavenda, what's the percentage of the incoming freshmen that require developmental courses, and how does our campus compare with the national average? It's fairly high. We have about, depending on spring or fall, it's between those that place into those between 20 to 22% versus, and I cannot say the national average fluctuates tremendously. Those that do have these types of programs, some of them are much higher. Like in the Los Angeles area, New York, I do understand it would be between 46 to almost 50%. But they have a slightly different system, so it's not really easy to compare. Now, if we compare within Texas, unfortunately, we're leading. Looking now at the declared majors in certificates, it looks like it's decreasing. But if we look at the declared majors for associate degrees, it seems to be increasing, which is a sign that students are now looking more into the future. They don't only want to declare the certificate, they now are declaring also the associate degree. And we also have quite an amount that are already now declaring the BAT or the BAS. Awarded certificates, 205, 145, and it has increased 206 to 206. And associate degrees also from 38 to 55. And mind you, they are still the technical or career technical students. Let's jump to the Bachelor of Applied Technology degree. The declared major has jumped up to, right now, 359. Which is a tremendous increase, but it's also very high with the BAS program, 689, which means a total of 1,000, if you add both, which means, and we're very surprised, which means that those 2 programs have become very popular with students, but more popular with some of the employers, because they see that the technical background student seems to be performing better, and so they are hiring them. Then the number of graduates have increased to now annual 206 to 45, and if you look at the BAS graduates, to 54. Unfortunately, our data before 2001 is not correct, but we think we have more than 400 graduates involved together.
And by the way, those that go into teacher certification seem to be also very successful with the BAS, primarily the BAS degree. Now, what does the future hold? Naturally, we have goals. We have 14 goals, and I have listed them here. The first goal, the most important goal, is we want every student to be certified in his or her occupation. Engineering technology, we want to expand into manufacturing, mechatronics, electronics, and hopefully marine technologies. Then, if you look at the heating and ventilation, air conditioning specializations, we already have started. Commercial refrigeration, we expand commercial air conditioning, and then domestic appliances. Goal 4, we now want to go automotive technology specializations into line, repair, and part specialists. Goal 5, we also want to expand the auto body repair. The construction technology, which is a little bit more important, those two, I shouldn't say more important. We pay more attention to them right now, is we're looking at electrical wiring, residential and commercial, the plumbing, alternative construction materials and methods. The green building has become very important. But then what we want is we want construction technology go into applied programs, meaning to use on-the-job projects instead of purely in-classroom construction. And it goes on, applied business technology, we want to add paralegal studies that then can lead into the BAS, and then collaborate with computer information systems, a new track in CIS, AAS, certificate in business information systems, certificate in business services, tracks in banking, customer service, etc. And then computer information systems technology, certificate in computer programming, associate in game programming, and one of the more popular now, which is called associate in computational forensics. Our college wants to move the Ask Lab, hopefully, into our college because we feel that it might be more important for us to start determining who all will go into that lab in order to be prepared, especially our technical students, to be prepared for higher degrees. Then goal 12, naturally, Masters of Applied Technology, later on the Masters in Developmental Studies. Strangely, we have requests for this, for the second one, from, I think there were 17 colleges for over 80 students. If we had that Masters, we could immediately go Texas-wide. It is believed that because we have that combination of university and college, that we will have the background to go into that system. And then another one is an AS in criminal science and homeland security, and then naturally moving more and more into electronic teaching through virtual reality. And we have started that already with a mechatronics program. Now, here comes our dream. Currently, we're spread over Setby, North, South, Cortez, Library, EDCB, Rustenburg, and ITEC. And we just hope, right now there's nothing on that wall, and we kind of hope maybe we could convince powers that be that this becomes the new College of Applied Technology and General Studies. There's enough room, by the way, to establish the college, and also the laboratories, and naturally throughout ITEC. If we have all those technical programs, then we would have a central location. But as I said, that's our dream. And by the way, and usually I don't give up. We have handouts for you that you can look at. I don't know whether they have been distributed or will be distributed, but so that you can look at them, because I was told before by Marilyn that I had to cut my 2-hour presentation. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yeah. I would ask my colleagues to please get up, including Dr. Murphy. Naturally, I couldn't do anything of that if I would not have this fantastic group. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Well, we know that a lot of our accomplishments on this campus have begun with dreams, Dr. Govinda, and especially your award-winning BAT program began as a dream. So we thank you for the hard work that you and your staff is doing for us.
Thank you. And they're my helpers. So I have to turn around and give the thanks to them also.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Robles, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did have a question, Dr. Govan. First of all, thank you and your staff for the hard work. It's obvious that you've spent many, many hours in trying to put together a successful program. I just had a quick question on the marine technology. Could you please expand on that? That's an interesting one.
Very, very recently we had a visitor here, and we looked at their programs from Texas A&M. But they really don't have a good AAS program that goes into the different types of marine technologies. For example, maintenance individuals on those oil islands, or the movement of equipment back and forth, or working actually here at the local companies that are looking for engineers, can't get engineers, and so they would like to have first the associate degree holder and then move into the others. The other portion would be looking at the drilling by Shell Oil, for example, and their requirements. And so what we're looking at is an AS in what we call marine technology, but it would actually be more offshore, onshore for the different types of jobs that they will offer. Now, I do understand that there will be a 25-year establishment of Shell Oil down here in the south. And talking to some of those individuals, they say, starting in about 2 years to 3 years, they need individuals that have those skills. And so we will come forward with a degree proposal that we will have to actually send that to the coordinating board. But we're looking at it, and it might be a one degree, or it could be a multi-track associate degree.
Great.
That later on might also be followed up by a BAT track in marine technology.
All right.
Sounds exciting. Thank you
very much.
Thank you, Dr.
If I
Govinda.
can follow up on the answer to that also, as Dr. Govinda says, we did have a visit by the president of Texas A&M Galveston and their Marine Institute, and they're very interested in helping us to take a look at the development of the programs that Dr. Govinda mentioned that are called brown water navigation programs. And so that's the navigation programs that are involved in the bay, in the intercoastal canal, that is different from blue water programs. And so everything from those who drive barges, for example, that now have to meet new certification requirements, to those that are the engineers for those kind of technologies. So they would like students from here. They would like to do some of the training.
Oh,
and we've brought in industry folks from around the port area to find out if they would be interested in us pursuing the conversations. And to a person, they all agreed that it was something we needed to pursue. So we'll now have follow-up discussions to move forward in that arena.
And mind you, all AAS programs are actually college or technical college programs, and we live with those and we develop those in our college.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Govinda. Item number 6 on the agenda is a report on the satisfactory academic progress, and that will be done by Dr. Garcia. Yes, ma'am.
I do not have a PowerPoint today, but I do want to spend a bit of time talking about the new standards for satisfactory academic progress, or the SAP, as we're calling them on campus, SAP, Satisfactory Academic Progress. It is up to individual universities to establish their own rules for what will be considered satisfactory academic progress. Our policy in the past was frankly rather confusing. Standards were based on a sliding scale depending on whether if you were a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, and we did not sufficiently address what would happen if students did not complete the number of hours that they attempted. So it was very difficult to say what is an adequate, satisfactory academic progress, and am I making it? And we'd have to say, well, what are you, a freshman or a sophomore? And it would be different for how many hours you had taken versus how many you still needed. So it was complicated even to define what it was. Many months of meetings and committees and gathering input has taken place, and we now have seen a gradual consensus form. Research has indicated some very startling things to us, many things that we don't laud very often because we didn't know exactly how serious this had become. Many students take numerous more hours than they need for a degree. For example, this last spring we found that there were 1,500 students enrolled that have completed more than 120 hours but have not yet graduated. 120 hours is considered to be enough hours if they're in the right areas and with the right grades to have completed a bachelor's degree. So we had 1,500 students on our campus that had more than 120 hours and yet no baccalaureate degree. We also found another 1,300 that had completed less than 70% of their classes. So that means if you take 15 hours a semester, you can't drop more than, or you shouldn't be able to drop more than 30% of those classes and still be making satisfactory progress. So we found that many students will sign up for a class and in fact drop from a majority of their classes and not therefore make satisfactory progress. In the spring of 2007, we had about 800 undergraduates that are on probation and a little over 400 of undergraduates that were on actual suspension. We also saw data on students who were allowed to continue taking classes for 3 or 4 semesters without passing much of anything. Meanwhile, they could be receiving financial aid or borrowing thousands of dollars. So after a year or two of following the pattern of signing up for courses and then dropping many of those courses, students would finally become ineligible for any additional financial aid. And you know that for our students that would mean that they would have to completely drop out of school. So now they have no education, no hope of paying back their financial obligations. And there's one thing to take out a loan to go to school and to end up with a product that actually gives you gainful employment to be able to pay back that loan. But it's quite another to have incurred debt, not gotten that degree, and not be able to repay that debt with good employment. We are distributing Pell Grant money every year. Pell Grants come from the federal government, and you must meet their need criteria in order to get Pell Grant. But you also must be making satisfactory academic progress in order to receive Pell Grants. To give you an idea of how much money we distribute in 1 year alone, last year we distributed $22 million. It comes directly from the federal government and goes into the hands of the students that meet that criteria for distribution. But at the same time, students borrowed, it was $22 million that they got in grants, which means they don't have to pay it back, but they borrowed over $25 million. We believe that we're not serving our students responsibly if we allow this to continue. We are here to help them realize their lifetime dreams through successful completion of education, not to get into debt that will be impossible to repay without an education. We're not the only ones that have noticed this. The standards for academic progress have always been a concern of both the federal and the state government. The federal government, which we have seen manifested now most recently through some of their new policies on eligibility. For example, in order to remain eligible for federal financial aid, students must prove that they are making satisfactory progress in education. Currently, about 68% of our students receive federal financial aid and will therefore be affected by those federal requirements. Federal policy limits students also to receiving federal financial aid only for the first 180 5 hours. So other folks are trying to put a kind of governor on the same issues as we are by saying, we'll only fund you up to 185 hours with Pell Grants if you are in need. We won't fund you for any more than that. So if a student uses up all their federal eligibility, doesn't get a degree, and goes into debt, there's really no way to crawl out of that academic and debt hole in the future. Over the last few years, the Texas legislature has also become increasingly interested in the success of our students, because they're also concerned about allocating state resources to support institutions whose students may not be making adequate progress toward a degree. This has resulted in limiting the number of hours funded for degree programs, and most recently, the number of times a student can take or retake a course. Now that ends up being 3 times. So a student cannot sign up for a course and then retake it and then retake it and get funded for that course from the state government. That is, we would not get reimbursed if they take it over 3 times. In addition, during this last session, a bill was passed that limits the number of courses students can drop over the entire time of their degree program to 6. Now, we're not sure how the state is going to apply that new bill. They're trying to work out the rules. But what you see happening is that everybody is kind of looking at it from their different perspective, noticing that there's a problem here and asking folks to look at it and to look at the impact on their own students. The state of Texas will also not fund universities for students that take more than 170 hours toward a bachelor's degree. As a result, we've been studying all of this, and so if you can't get federal financial aid for more than 185 hours, if the state's not going to fund the university for over 170 hours, we've got to try and help our students, guide them toward more strategic thinking in terms of what degrees they're going to major in and how to make satisfactory progress toward them. We have decided to take several strategic steps to ensure student success. First, we simplified the satisfactory academic progress, or the SAP guidelines, and we're going to teach them to students, to faculty and staff. Now, that's already begun on campus and with all of those groups. We're going to intervene with very clear strategies with students who may be treading into that dangerous territory, and we're going to provide incentives for students that make satisfactory progress. Let me address each individually. Satisfactory progress will be defined in the following way. And if I can't explain it to you easily enough right now, then we need to adjust it one more time. But it will be this simple. You must maintain a 2.0 cumulative GPA, and you must complete 70% of the classes that you attempt. That's it. It's that simple to understand.
In one semester?
A cumulative GPA.
Okay.
And cumulative 70%. These are very clear guidelines. We think they should enable everyone from students to faculty to advisors to parents to determine exactly how a student is progressing. Secondly, we will reach out to students early to make sure that they learn this new SAP criteria. Everybody's got SAP on their mind right now, and that's good because we need to learn it. This means that for first-time freshmen, if they went through Scorpiontation activities, and with the help of the student government and through the advising center, students will be learning about SAP. Today, the president of our student government talked about SAP in his State of the Students address. By the way, a historic moment for us, the first time the student government ever held a State of the Students address on campus. And he referred to the SAP in their endorsement of the new guidelines. Students will also receive a letter from our Vice President for Academic Affairs during the first few weeks of class explaining the new SAP criteria. For those students, those are for first-time freshmen. For continuing students, many other forms of communication will be used, including email notices using Blackboard, in-class discussions led by faculty and mentoring, and advising that all of us will be involved in. We'll also reach out to students during the semester to alert them to the fact that they might be in danger of not meeting the SAP criteria. The best example of this would be our early alert system that's activated by a member of the faculty when a student exhibits the first signs of failing. This may include not showing up for class, failing to turn in assignments, or poor grades in assignments that are given. The student would be contacted by the advising center and encouraged to meet with their professor and or directed to the Learning Assistance Center for tutoring. Students can get help to succeed on this campus, but they first have to acknowledge that they need help, and then they have to want to take advantage of it. However, if a student does not meet those SAP standards after one semester, a student will be placed on probation. The student can still receive financial assistance during one semester of probation, but they must then achieve these SAP standards during that semester in order to remove their probationary status and return to good standing. If a student does not bring up his GPA or her GPA to a 2.0 or complete 70% of the hours attempted for the semester while on probation, the student will be suspended. While on suspension, students may not enroll in classes. They must sit out a semester, and we hope they'll use the time to resolve any issues that may have prevented them from dedicating themselves to serious studying. After having sat out for a semester, they may return to enroll once again. However, they will only be allowed to register for 7 credit hours for their first semester after having been on suspension. They must meet with an advisor to make sure they have selected the appropriate classes, and they must participate in other programs designed to get them on track and make sure they stay on track for successful degree completion. Once a returning student has demonstrated the ability to meet SAP guidelines, the student will once again be considered in good standing and therefore eligible for federal financial aid and other scholarship help. We believe the new SAP guidelines will have a positive impact on student success in the long run. The policy will be more easily understood by our students, our faculty, and our staff, and therefore easier to apply. We'll be able to intervene earlier into the student's academic career to help guide them toward a degree and prevent them from ending up hopelessly in debt and without a degree. We also believe that our classroom seats will be filled with motivated students who are academically and mentally prepared and eager to fulfill their dream of a college degree. In the short run, however, we expect to experience a drop in enrollment. How much of a drop is speculation. Every semester, we lose students for a variety of reasons. They may leave because of family issues. I cannot tell you how many times I'm checking out of a store at an H-E-B or some other place in town, and they'll say, "Aren't you Dr. Garcia?" And I'll say, "Yes." And then they'll say, "I was a student." And I'll say, "Why aren't you back?" "Well, I'm coming back." And then the variety of reasons that they're not back then flow. So we have many students in our community that need to move back in and need to be more guided and directed. Family issues are one of the reasons they'll drop out, illnesses, financial considerations, and then some of them drop out because they've transferred to another university. But some leave because of failure to meet the SAP criteria. We're projecting that the number of students that will leave after this fall 2007 semester for failure to meet SAP criteria will increase. What we don't know is by how much. Those most vulnerable are those that are beginning this semester already on probation. We've modeled what would happen if student behavior continues along the path we currently observe. Based on current enrollment patterns, we would expect to lose 1,300 students that are currently on probation or suspension. We have intervention strategies that will specifically aim at those most vulnerable students. Our hope is that the students will wake up, decide to get more serious about their studies, and recover from their probationary status and keep them from getting on suspension. We have a semester to make that behavioral change. In order for the students' behavior to change, our behavior has got to change as well. But we also hope for an additional outcome. Today, the average student takes only about 10 hours per semester. Many would like to take more classes, but find often that the classes that they need are already full. This slows down their progress toward a degree. So if we open up more seats in the freshman and sophomore level classes, we would be facilitating the success of those students that already are making satisfactory progress. We're limited in the number of seats by our lack of classroom space and our lack of faculty to teach the classes. So the only way to free up more seats right now is to make sure that each student who takes a seat in the freshman and sophomore class is a serious student. While we expect to lose some additional students, we would hope that the more successful students who are making satisfactory progress will now take more hours and move more rapidly toward degree completion. We have established a community university here. It was established on the premise that we would make quality higher education accessible to people of our region. In the first 16 years of the establishment of this university and its partnership with Texas Southmost College, we've added 47 new degree programs, including our first doctoral program. We have brought brilliant professors from all over the world to teach on our campus, and we've expanded our campus facilities to include state-of-the-art classroom buildings and laboratories. And we have maintained throughout this our open access principle. But access and success are distinctly different. While all are welcomed, not all take advantage of this opportunity in the same way. These new SAP criteria allow us to maintain our open door, not presume to know ahead of time through standardized tests or other criteria whether or not someone should go to college or has the potential to succeed in college. But after allowing them to enroll, and after trying to help them once here, students must take their studies as seriously as we take providing them this quality education. They must decide what to major in, and then they must make progress toward their graduation every semester. It is student success that we focus on today. I'd be pleased to answer any questions that you might have about the new satisfactory academic process progress standards.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, Dr. Rowe.
It would seem, Dr. Garcia, that you may need to involve the high schools and the advisors in high schools and to start preparing those students to let them know that it's not going to be as easy as in the past, and that there will be restrictions that have come down from the federal government and the state government to restrict them and expect that they be successful students. And I think that it has to be weaved in with the high school seniors and their advisors, and to warn them ahead of time that they need to be serious students. That's my only
I think you're absolutely right, Dr. Robles. And, we have lots of outreach activities, lots of outreach programs. The dual enrollment is one of the most impressive one, really, of all the ones we have in the sense that you already capture those students who are eager, enthusiastic, and wanting to get into college early, and often would be getting into trouble because they're bored in their junior and senior year in high school. So we're beginning to capture them that way. We've been providing now scholarships for Scorpion Scholars, the top 10% kids. We now have over 200 kids here that are doing 99% retention and GPAs above 3.0. So we're trying flat rate tuition, for example. If a student comes and takes 15 hours or more, there is no increase in their tuition at all. We've installed a student employment initiative because many of our students have to work. We understand that. But it's better if they work on campus, working in a classroom or with a professor, than if they work outside of campus. We have a student employment initiative where we invite students to work on campus and take classes at the same time. Their GPA is over a 3.0 and completion rate is higher. We can tell you what our GPA rate is for every athletic activity that we have on campus. And I'll tell you the golf team, women's golf team, are the ones with the highest GPA. and we have some work to do in some of the other ones. So we have been trying to stockpile as incentives those programs that we know are guiding students toward the right thing. But not everybody's a top 10%er. And there are many people who have to work off campus. And there are some that are not athletes and can't compete for the talent ships. And so this must affect the whole of the student body. We have lots of outreach programs with the high schools. We have over 37 outreach programs, from math and science upward bound programs to our camp program for former migrant students. So we're going to take advantage of all those connections that we have with the schools, superintendents, to inform them of what's going on. And while the federal government has its restrictions and the state government has its own, these are some that we are installing on our own, just to make it clear. We're not doing it because someone else is asking us to do this. It is a decision that this university has made. We think it's a good decision. We think it fits in with what the federal government is doing. We think it fits in with what the state is doing as well.
It's important to know that also that access to higher education is not being curtailed nor chilled by this plan. What we don't want is to have a perpetual student that does not achieve a diploma, and all he obtains is a potential bankruptcy scenario in the near future. Because you're correct, we can have students here that will take 120 hours, and yet they haven't gotten even close to their academic degree program. So I think it's a good idea, Dr. Garcia.
Well, actually, just keep the student on track. We'll help them keep them, kind of within the boundaries, and go right down this way instead of straying. And we can. I'm not a youth anymore, but young. But that's what happens, and they get blindsided by other responsibilities or things that they seem more important at the time. And this is going to perhaps corral them and go in the right direction. So it's good.
A 2.0 grade point average is not, much to ask. That's minimum. And I think it's always been minimum. When I was on this campus, it was 2.0 back then. So it's nothing. It's not something that's new to the concept of higher education.
Exactly. So. And it is what our peers have as a satisfactory academic progress, so that it would be the same in most of the UT institutions. What is different for us is the 70% completion rate.
Sure.
That is something that is going to be different here and not the same as other UT institutions. So it's going to have an impact on students taking hours and then dropping them. So we're saying don't sign up for them if you're not don't take up a seat when another student wants that seat and needs it badly for their degree. We're hoping that more students will be successful and that it'll balance out between the ones we lose and the ones that stay and take more hours and continue. We thank you for the support you have been in these discussions. We thank everybody, the faculty and the staff and the students that have been right with us all the way through, and faculty, as a matter of fact, pushing us, saying, do this, it's time. And we're very, very pleased, frankly, to be at this point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia.
Thank you.
We move on to item number 7, it's the budget, and I would call our comptroller, Ms. Melba Sanchez, to present this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Garcia. The budget for fiscal year 2008 was presented for the first reading at your June 21st, 2007 meeting. There were no substantial changes between the first reading and this second reading that we're presenting tonight. The budget as presented is a balanced budget with the exception of the strategic use of $1 million of fund balance as is recommended in the first meeting. The strategic use of these funds now includes a chilled water line extension in addition to the roof repairs and renovations at the ITEC. Your budget as presented in your binders this evening also includes debt service for the bond sales that occurred at your June 21st meeting and an adjustment to all debt service accounts for fiscal agent fees. Again, there were no substantial changes. However, a complete list of the changes from your first reading on June 21st is included in your binders for your reference.
Are there any questions on the budget, Dr. Robles or Ms. Breedlove?
No, I got my questions asked in the previous briefing, so we're okay.
So I'll...
A motion to adopt the TSC district budget for the fiscal year 2007-2008 as presented is required.
So a motion to be made by the committee. And,
Mr. Chairman, I'd remind you that you should not pass the motion or vote on the motion until Mrs. Zimmerman returns.
I had known she was gone. Thank you, Dr. Pearson. I had known she was gone. So we'll just wait for her. Thank you. Ms. Bubba.
Thank you.
Come back to it.
Okay. Move on to the second, item number 8, is the Business Affairs Partnership Committee. Mr. Campirano chairs the BAPC report committee, but he's not here, so I ask Ms. Melba to please also, Sanchez, address this committee report.
Thank you. The Business Affairs Partnership Committee met on August 20th, 2007. 3 items were presented for approval, and all 3 received the committee's recommendation. The first item was consideration and possible action on the second reading of the Board Policy 5D, the investment policy. The Public Funds Investment Act requires that the district's investment policy be reviewed on an annual basis. The changes being proposed relate to personnel title changes due to the reorganization in the TSC district office. The first reading of the revised policy, as was presented at the June 21st, 2007 board meeting, was presented at the June 21st, 2007 board meeting. No changes were recommended or made after the first reading. A motion is required to approve the second reading of the Board Policy 5D investment.
Okay, so there's a motion by the committee to approve the second reading of the Policy VD investment.
So moved.
Second by Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Motion carries.
The second item is consideration and possible action on renewal of the general liability, educators' legal, crime, and auto insurance policies. The district requested quotes from Shepherd Walton King for general liability, crime, auto, and educators' legal policies. Shepherd Walton King presented 2 options for the district's consideration. The committee agrees with the staff recommendation of accepting option number 2 in the amount of $53,253. The renewal period for these policies is September 1, 2007 through August 31, 2008. The total amount of the insurance renewal is $2,189 less than the premium for the current year's policy. Raul Cabasa from Shepherd Walton King is present tonight to assist with any questions that you may have regarding these policies.
I just want to thank them for finding that the insurance renewal for $2,000 less. Thank you.
Every little bit helps.
Yes.
So the committee is recommending, and you're making a motion?
Yes. A motion is required to approve the renewal from Shepherd Walton King for general liability, crime, auto, and educators' legal liability insurance policies in the amount of $53,253.
Motion has been made by the committee and second by Ms. Zimmerman, Ms. Breedlove. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries.
The third item is consideration and possible action on budget amendments for fiscal year 2006-2007. Budget amendments number 07-004 and 07-005 adjust the revenues and expenditures in the general fund and auxiliary fund. Budget amendments 07-006 and 07-012 adjust the debt service funds for continuing disclosure and arbitrage rebate calculation fees incurred. The budget amendments are necessary to cover anticipated expenses through year end. A motion is also required to approve the budget amendments 07-004 through 07-012 for fiscal year 2006-2007 as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Zimmerman. Second by Ms. Breedlove. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. And we go back to the second reading of the TSC district budget for FY 07 and 08. And I asked a motion to adopt the TSC district budget for fiscal year 07-08 as presented. Moved by Mrs. Breedlove.
Second.
Second by Ms. Zimmerman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. Anything else with the...
Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you very much, Melba.
That
Appreciate it.
concludes the Business Affairs Partnership Committee meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chair. Item number 9 is the tax rate, and I ask Dr. David Pearson to present this item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the third and final step required of the board to set the ad valorem tax rate for the coming year. As the board may recall, the first step was to publish the notice of the effective and the rollback rate calculations. The next step was to hold 2 public hearings, which were conducted on August 20th and on August 23rd. The final step is to adopt the rates which are listed in the resolutions included in your binders. The rates are as follows: a rate of $0.111423 for maintenance and operations, and a debt rate of $0.049666, for a total rate of $0.161089 per $100 valuation. By adopting these resolutions, the board will be setting a rate that's higher than the rollback rate. However, the total rate is the same as last year, and the district continues to honor its commitment not to exceed the 3.8 cents increase presented during the November 2004 bond election. Mr. Chairman, this is an action item, requires the motion included in your binders, and if you have any questions prior to that, Melba Sanchez and I would be pleased to answer those.
Any questions, board members?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I move that the TSC board adopt an ad valorem tax rate of, and check my numbers here, .111423 for maintenance and operations, and a debt rate of .049666 for a total of .161089 per $100 valuation.
Motion's been made by Ms. Zimmerman.
Second.
Second by Dr. Robles. Any discussions on this item? None? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Item number 10 is the Physical Facilities Subcommittee report, and I will ask Ms. Breedlove to present her report.
The Physical Facilities Subcommittee met on August 24th, 2007. The meeting was attended by Mr. Eduardo Campiano, Mr. Chester Gonzalez, President Garcia, Dr. David Pearson, Veronica Mendez, Dr. Wayne Moore, and myself. Also present were Diana Gonzalez, Gilbert Gallegos from Broadus and Associates, and Bobby Watley and Dennis Young from Skanska USA. The committee discussed the following items: participation in purchasing cooperatives, the updated funding allocation for the construction projects, and the proposal for guaranteed maximum price for the library, classrooms, and the Center for Early Childhood Studies, and the iTech campus. Mr. Chairman, before I call on Mr. Gilbert Gallegos with Veronis and Associates, did you have any comments that you wanted to add from what we discussed?
Only that the board and the committees that are assigned to the projects and the staff and personnel that is crucial in the presentation of these projects that are part of the bond election have been very diligent in trying to save money for the institution and in order to build the facilities that were promised to the community. We have done that. We have taken steps to bring down pricing on many of the items that are part of the engineering phase of these projects, knowing well in hand that the cost of materials right now is skyrocketed. And we all heard stories of how China's taken all the cement and other copper tubing and other materials that are crucial to the construction of our projects on our campus. And as a result of that, we've had to take special steps to curtail those increases and try to attempt to bring them down to meet our budgeted items as been planned and as approved by the board. So I think this is something that is very important to achieve our goals on our campus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Gallegos, please.
Thank you, Ms. Breedlove. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, once again, thank you for allowing us to be part of this particular bond program. I know it's a very important bond program to y'all, to the community, to the district, to the students, future students of this campus, and certainly thank you for allowing us to be part of this particular program. It means a lot to Broadus and Associates and our organization also. And as Dr. Garcia has really led the Construction Council, I do want to say that we do thank you for your leadership, Dr. Garcia. Construction Council being Dr. Moore, Dr. Pearson, Dr. Martin, and of course Veronica Mendez. And that's the Construction Council. Without their particular guidance and involvement through this particular process, we wouldn't be here today, because it takes an enormous amount of time and effort to get through this particular planning process, and we're at a very major milestone in terms of the bond program and starting forward with construction on this particular bond program. So I do appreciate the Construction Council's effort and Dr. Garcia and the Facilities Committee also to give us the hard questions that we deserve in terms of making sure that we're good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, and we're looking after your interest as we proceed forward. So we do appreciate that. One of the items that has certainly been discussed many times as we proceed forward is what kind of value, and we've been challenged many times as we proceed forward, what kind of value does an organization like yourself, Brownsville and Associates, provide in terms of this particular process? And we can demonstrate through some benchmarking, some documentation. We won't get into that level of detail, but we do have that documentation to show that we have provided value to this particular process. And these are just four of the elements that we have identified in terms of making sure that we provide value through that process. One is procurement strategies, value engineering and constructability, working with the contractors to making sure that you have good value as you proceed forward, looking at schedule compression, making sure that we utilize the schedules and utilize the project schedules, all the projects, in terms of making sure we take advantage of volume discounts, and working with the contractors to making sure that they have good scheduling of those contracts. But one of the items that we would like to bring to your attention in terms of the purchasing strategies is owner procurement. And this is very unique in that I believe that this is the only time, the only university, the only college that I'm aware of in the state that actually is utilizing this particular approach. And this is all part of trying to being innovative to provide additional value. What this does in terms of procurement process, it takes pre-negotiated items from the state level and federal level and allows those to be pulled together in terms of large resources to be able to use these particular entities to be able to allow the university, the college, and us to be able to procure these particular products at a pre-negotiated price. We have the Texas Buy Board, TIFs, TCPN, and the Texas Building Procurement Commission. Those are four of the items, and of course there's a subcategory of TexMass. We'll demonstrate in the further discussion in terms of what kind of value we can already see in terms of taking place for this particular process. But this is an innovative approach that hasn't been implemented anywhere, and of course this is going to provide value, and that value is demonstrated in terms of the commitment that we have and also the commitment that Texas Southmost College has. We have two individuals that are going to be following this particular process, Mr. Joe Rafak from our organization with Brownsville and Associates, and we have Miss Linda Ulland with she's the office manager for the Texas Southmost College Facilities Department. Those are two individuals that are going to be following through with this particular process. They have made that commitment, and we have, I believe the contractors are on board in terms of looking at ways also to save dollars for the college. So we're pretty excited about this particular strategy and proceeding forward. And of course, in order for us to participate, we need the approval of the board in order for us to proceed forward. So, Ms. Friedlander?
Mr. Igus, I'd like to just say thank you all. I want the community to know, as our chairman just put forth earlier, that the board members have been adamant with you all and in this whole project trying to save money on all of these projects. We want the best product we can get for our community at the best price we can get, and we appreciate your assistance in this. This looks great. We're excited about it too, and we thank you for your perseverance. And I want to thank the board members also for theirs and for pushing also for that. So we thank you. So the committee recommends, and I move to approve the resolution authorizing the district staff to participate in the purchasing cooperatives as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made by Mrs. Breedlove, second by Ms. Zimmerman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Breedlove.
Mr. Chairman, may I interrupt just one second? Mr. Gallegos, could you give us an example of how we've already benefited from the purchasing of the brick as an institution instead of having each contractor purchase the brick, and how much we saved on that portion?
Well, I'll let Joe Rafack respond to that. Since he's the number guy, he has more specific. He can give you the exact number, but he can certainly relate to that.
On the brick, we were not able to use these purchasing strategies. It's not available through these agencies, but we went out for competitive sealed bids on a brick. And by doing that and taking advantage of the volume discount for all of the buildings in the bond program, plus some future construction, the gross savings is approximately $750,000.
So you see a lot of brick on campus, and that's because we had to store it up, we had to get it delivered, and we're holding it for use in some of the other ones. But I just wanted you to know that process is beginning to work.
Mr. Chairman, Madam President, I challenge the community to drive around campus and see the brick piled everywhere. And it's exciting. It is exciting to see.
Leftovers somewhere.
Just to follow up with regard to Dr. Garcia's question, and this is a Texas Southmost College Bond Program that you've been assigned to us, and there are other UT projects, your partnership with UT Brownsville.
True.
So we are not only looking at Texas Southmost College, we're also looking at UT Brownsville. So the numbers in those projects that aren't being managed by us, but we want to bring those resources and take advantage of all those volume purchases and discounts for the college and university to benefit, because it goes back to the students, goes back to this community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe.
I believe the next item is Ms. Mendez is going to take over funding allocation for the bond.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have been talking to the board about the necessary increase in our project funding due to additional scope and cost escalation throughout the projects. The last time we came to the board was in September, and the allocations were made to the different projects. That is the allocation that you see on the first chart under the current allocation. We are proposing that an increase be of overall total of $3.7 million throughout the projects. And again, this is to cover the increase in scope and some of the additional escalation that was not anticipated in the budgets. Now, the second chart shows where those funds are coming from. And at the meeting of the Board of Trustees in June, an additional $2 million in maintenance notes was sold, and so we are requesting that those funds be allocated to the projects. Also, through some reallocation of other sources in the budget, then to complete the amount necessary to total $3.7 million. Now, this is a very difficult chart to read on the screen, but it is an important one to show because it reflects all of the work that the college and the university are dealing with at this time. And we have $131 million of construction and renovation going on our campus. And this shows the growth of the university. Yes, ma'am, because this is going to increase the capacity in the classrooms that we were talking about earlier. This chart also shows where all of those funds are coming from, and you can tell that we've been diligent and looking for additional sources and leveraging dollars through the state of Texas and all of in UTB as well. So it is an important chart to have in mind. And so at this time, I would like to request a motion.
The committee recommends, and I move to approve the funding allocation for the construction projects as presented.
Motion has been made by Ms. Breedlove. Second by Dr. Robles. Are there any further discussions on this item? No? Then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Then motion carries.
Next, to talk about the guaranteed maximum prices and the contract awards is Ms. Diana Bravo Gonzalez.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment on what Ms. Mendez just said? I think that chart that was being shown a moment ago indicates something else that we talked about trying to do and success in trying to do that. We had $68 million from the local community of that total, but we've leveraged the difference, that is, the difference between $68 million and the total of $131 million outside of the local taxing district. And we had hoped that that would be the case, that we would be able to take a community investment and then leverage it or get it matched. And in fact, we've more than matched it. So I think it's an important contribution that the partnership makes to the construction on campus, our affiliation with UT, and then all of the other creative things that have gone into addressing the need on the campus.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia.
Good evening.
Hi, Diana.
For those who don't know me, I'm Diana Bravo Gonzalez, and I'm with Broadus & Associates, and I am the resident project manager for the bond program. I'd like to remind you on the slide that's up right now, I'd like to remind you what contractors the board approved back in 2006. For the library, classroom, and Center for Early Childhood Studies, you approved Skanska USA for those particular projects, and I believe we have a few representatives from Skanska. Could you just stand? Bobby Watley. They're here. For the iTech campus, you approved Spa Glass construction. Also, I'd like to remind you that back in 2006, we approved the project delivery method called Construction Manager at Risk. And that basically is a two-part process. The first part is the pre-construction services, where the contractor is brought on early on in the project, and they participate as a project team member. They provide cost estimating throughout the design. They provide some constructability reviews, scheduling, and then finally where we are today at a guaranteed maximum price for construction. And they have based that price on 60% construction documents. The second phase that we enter into after this evening would be the construction services part 2, where they actually bid out the to subcontractors the work, and then finally they oversee the construction project. Let me begin with the professional zone. By the professional zone, I mean the new East Library, classroom buildings, and the expansion of the thermal plant. This is all in the professional zone where the education and business building is located. We have received guaranteed maximum prices from Skanska Construction back in August 3rd, after various value engineering meetings and constructability meetings, and bringing the price down as much as we could, we finally arrived at a guaranteed maximum price for all those projects of $20,124,325. As you can see from the following information, that particular construction cost equates to about $212 a square foot. Our particular estimators in Austin, the broadest estimators, have been estimating all along on this project. We had estimated about a $209 a square foot for those particular buildings. Again, these are buildings that have the same quality of architecture and design as you're accustomed to in education and business. And if you look at the last number, if we were to escalate the education and business complex square footage to today's dollars, you would actually be paying $228 for that particular building. So we feel that the construction cost is fair and reasonable. On the next slide, I just wanted to point something out, that the original program that's, a year and a half ago that we did, had a build-out of approximately 86,000 square feet. You're actually getting today about 88,000 square feet, which is about a 1,200 square foot increase. So you're actually getting more square footage for your dollars, as we had in the program. I believe a motion is required at this time to accept the...
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, for your assistance with this. The committee recommends, and I move to authorize Skanska USA to proceed with Part 2, construction phase services for the East Library and classroom buildings in the amount of $20,124,325, and authorize the Assistant Vice President for Planning and Construction to execute the contract.
Okay.
Second that.
Motion been made by Mrs. Breedlove, second by Mrs. Zimmerman. And I remind everyone that this is we had a workshop on these construction theories and guaranteed price for the constructions of the projects last week. So a motion's been made. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you. I'd like to proceed with the Center for Early Childhood Studies. Fortunately, on this particular project, as you can see, we're about $1 million over budget, and I'd like to mention just a few causes that we feel contributed to that increase. Basically, the move to the La Placita site required the demolition of existing building and some asbestos abatement, which contributed some. We encountered poor soils, which actually added to some foundation costs on the design. And then, of course, there was construction cost escalation, which has affected all the projects in excess of 5%. On this particular project, we are recommending that we not proceed with Part 2 construction phase services with Skanska, and that we step back and reevaluate the structural design, have a little bit more time to evaluate the design, and then possibly competitively bid the project at a future date, leaving it open for smaller, maybe local contractors in the area to bid the project. Right now, that is our recommendation.
Again, thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. The committee recommends, and I move to not authorize Skanska USA to proceed with Part 2 construction phase services for the Center for Early Childhood Studies project as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Breedlove, second by Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to remind again the people that we have had several meetings with staff, and we felt that $1 million in overhead costs that it would be better to stop and reevaluate what we're going to do, and probably at the same time reap some savings by just delaying it a little longer.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just
Thank you.
clarify that we are just delaying it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we'll be back soon. I'll proceed next to the ITech campus. We are moving forward on the design and hopefully the construction for ITech. We have recently received from Spa Glass Construction partial GMP for the site work and landscape, asbestos abatement of the area that we will be remodeling, demolition of the interior area that we will be remodeling, and then roofing. And we just received that on August 10th. The next slide gives you a quick idea of the roofing areas at ITech. I just want to orient you. The bottom is the entry to ITech. As you go in, and that center area is the center court, and then the big square is the Dillard space that you want, that you're looking at. Unfortunately, we're not roofing that.
It'll have a roof.
But anyway, the yellow indicates roof that has already been repaired. The green is what we would like to do in this particular guaranteed maximum price, this particular phase of construction, and then the lighter is what will still be pending. So we'll basically re-roof about 75% of the ITech campus. And this just gives you an idea of what I meant by partial site work. We want to do the entryway to the entry drive, realign the drive, do landscaping, give it a facelift as you enter. That's the partial site and landscaping that we're proposing. And the next slide gives you an idea of the area at ITech. Now the bottom again is the entry and the central courtyard. That gives you kind of idea in the color of the area that we'll be remodeling eventually, and that'll be the area that we'll be doing the asbestos abatement on and the demolition. That kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing. Our recommendation this evening is to award to Garland Company through the text mass procurement purchasing method, the roofing for that green area I mentioned earlier of $1,998,366. This is, again, one of the procurement methods that was mentioned earlier, and award the rest of the GMPs that Spa Glass submitted for partial site, interior demolition, and asbestos abatement for $3,849 and $244. The next slide gives you an idea of what we would have accomplished. 75% of the roof. We have a new thermal plant already. Abatement, demolition, and then site upgrade. At this time, a motion is required.
Yeah, this roof is the same roof of the original mall facility that was constructed in '74?
No, this is the Garland roof. Some of the other roofs that was redone is a Garland. It's just a manufacturer, very good manufacturer, and we do get lead points for that. We'll be talking about that in a few minutes.
Okay.
So it's a top-notch roof.
The committee recommends and I move to award the roofing project at the iTech campus to Garland Company through TexMass in the amount of $1,998,402 as presented. Let me continue the rest of this, please. And the committee recommends and I move to authorize Spa Glass to proceed with Part 2 construction phase services for partial site work, interior demolition, and asbestos abatement at the iTech campus in the amount of $3,849,243.
Motion's been made by Ms. Breedlove.
Second it.
Second by Ms. Zimmerman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries.
I was just reminded to mention that since we're going with the TexMass, we are saving approximately $500,000 on going through that purchasing method rather than going through the contractor. I think that's an important. We're adding that to our list.
Thank you, Ms. Bravo.
I'd like to pass it on to Veronica Mendez.
Just for a brief update on where we are then today on all of our construction projects. For the rec center, we now under construction, as you know, with the actions that the board has taken tonight. The library and then classroom has been awarded a contract, and we will begin soon moving into the site, and the contractor will be mobilizing to the site. The Center for Early Childhood Studies then is on redesign. The music education facility is under design. It is on schedule for that. And the iTech campus, then we have awarded the construction today. And the Science and Technology Learning Center is under design as scheduled. So it's an important step that we have taken tonight. Now, Mrs. Breedlove, let's talk green.
Okay, yes. As you know, there's been lots of folks talking about green. This board and the administration care deeply for the environment. This interest has translated to a commitment to support of sustainable building designs for the bond projects. As you can see on the slide, even though we haven't formally applied for LEED certification, we are keeping track of points that we have accumulated. LEED, L-E-E-D, is the Leadership in Energy and Environment Design Green Building Rating System. This rating system is a nationally accepted benchmark for the design, construction, and operation of high-performance green buildings. LEED promotes a whole building approach to sustainability by recognizing performance in 5 key areas of human and environmental health: sustainable site development, water savings, energy efficiency, material selection, and indoor environmental quality. Just in the professional zone alone, we are only a few points away from achieving certification. This goal has been achieved by maintaining the design standards already in place for other buildings on this campus. And you know from the original designs of buildings here, they didn't have LEED back in the 20s or 30s, but we didn't have air conditioning either, and what we had to do is design buildings that were the most efficient and coolest and for the campus at that time. So now everybody else is getting into it. Let me be the first one to congratulate this board and the campus community, Dr. Garcia, Dr. Martin, Dr. Moore, Dr. Pearson, and Veronica Mendez, as the actions that we have taken tonight in regards to construction will definitely move our projects and this campus towards being more energy efficient. We will soon be setting a date for the groundbreaking ceremony for the classrooms and library. So listen, and we will be announcing those and letting you know. This concludes my report.
If I may take just 1 minute of your time, I'd like to introduce the green giant of our campus, Dr. Pearson. The Division of Partnership Affairs is now going green. So he has something for us.
But is there a jolly green giant?
Mr. Chairman, she wasn't supposed to say that. I would also like to point out to the board that at the beginning of this year, Dr. Garcia asked the Partnership Affairs Division to take the lead in green initiatives around campus. Certainly, we've been doing this in terms of the new construction, but I'd also like to point out that we're cognizant of energy conservation and other green initiatives in the renovations that we're doing, and also it was Partnership Affairs which served as the coordinating agency for bringing together the faculty, the staff, and the students who have begun our recent recycling efforts on campus. And I guess in token of all of that, I'd like to present all members of the board and our president with a green hat from the Partnership Affairs Division.
A green circuit.
Nice, thank you very much.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
This is
That is
superb.
cool.
I like that.
These are special.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
That's cool.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. You know, all the work that we do here is really for the students, because the students are the ones that are the recipients of these facilities so they can obtain their higher education. And looking into the audience, I see a very special young man who's going to make a name for himself in this campus and probably also in this community, and that is Rogelio Chanez, Roger, the student government president. And he's the leader of the Student Association, and I know that he's got some good ideas in his head, and he's even promised me that he's going to be a lawyer one day. So, welcome, Roger. Thank you very much for being here.
Good luck to you.
Okay, item number 11, we move on to the third quarter financials. Ms. Melba.
The financial statements for the third quarter and the investment report have been included in your binders. They are being provided for informational purposes only and do not require any action tonight. These actions are for the fiscal year 2006, 2007, and cover operations from September 2006 through May 2007. Total unrestricted funds, including funds for capital construction, total $65.2 million, and tax collections as compared to budget total 98%. The total interest earned for the third quarter totaled $847,000. This interest is being generated through the district's various checking, savings, and CD accounts with Lone Star National Bank, Texas State Bank, and J.P. Morgan Chase. At this time, I will take any questions you may have regarding the financial statements or the investment report.
Melba, when do we finish paying off the bond, 86 bond money?
On the
87.
The 87, 88, we
Yes.
will finish paying next year. Next year. Fiscal year 2008 is the final payment for that bond. So it's been 20 years.
Do you recall what we did with that bond money in 86? What did we build?
Dr. Moore is here, too. He can speak.
Wayne, come up here, Wayne. Where is he? Wayne.
He's too young.
Remind us, young guys, what we'll do with that money.
We had 17 projects, not nearly as complex as what Ms. Mendez and Broadus and David and those folks are handling, but we re-roofed many campus buildings at the time. We built the library, north-south building, the thermal plant, relocated physical plant, put all utilities underground, did all asbestos abatement, including over the Christmas holidays, closing down the library and moving all the books out, and had a strike in the middle of it and all of that. So it was exciting times. Let's see if I haven't forgotten anything. We did the historic buildings on campus, this building, the cavalry, no, we didn't do the cavalry building. This building was a major historical building we redid, and the art building, the commissary, including waterproofing the basement on that.
For a total of?
For a total of, our bond was $13.8 million.
Isn't that amazing?
And we spent a total, including fund balance from Texas Southmost College, about $20.5 million. North-south building in 85-86, 100,000 square feet costs $5 million at $50 a square foot.
Versus today was 200
That was the catalyst, and I think this is going to be the catalyst also. I mean, that was a huge...
And then
the paseo.
And the paseo, I'm sorry. Paseo, landscaping, all of that was done. We did parking as well with that money. And then we had UT come along and do Set B, and you know the rest of that story.
Thank you, old-timer.
And we're expecting our first two grandchildren in December and March.
All right.
Had to weave that in.
Thank you, Dr. Moore.
If there are no further questions, that concludes my report, and there's
Thank you,
no
Ms.
action
Sanchez.
necessary.
Thank you, Lola.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, item number 12 is my favorite. Construction report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My favorite portion of the board meetings also. And although most of us don't remember as far back as Dr. Moore remembers, there is construction on the campus now as well as renovation. And a lot of us find the renovations as exciting. What we have here is the interior of the new Rustenburg Art Gallery. We can see that the windows are in. Here is going to be some secure exhibition space toward the front. This will be covered with pieces of glass, and there'll be a glass wall off toward the left-hand side. We've also done the second floor of Rustenburg. Here are some of the recently retrofitted classrooms. Obviously, the whiteboard still has to go up. Some additional space for studios and offices, turning this into a very, very good facility for our fine arts department. Outside of Rustenburg, this is on the Paseo side, that's Set B on the left-hand side. We're putting in a Paseo, which will allow access into the building at various points. We're going to be removing the hedge, moving it back toward the building, and landscaping the entire area so it's reminiscent of the rest of the Paseo. Work continues on the Leitner Center, which is going to be used for academic advising. Here we have the space which is going to be the reception area. Rooms which will allow the advisors and their advisees both a sense of space but also a sense of privacy. And here we have almost complete one of the large conference rooms in that facility. Both Rustenburg and Leitner will be open toward the end of September. Finally, the Rec Center. And here we have the wing along University Boulevard, which is going to house the laboratories, the offices, and the classrooms. Under the tower, going up here, will be the social space, the largest tower on campus, we understand. And on this side, this is the area, the slab in the foreground. This is where the fitness and the weight room will be. And off to the right, you see all of the PVC pipes, which is where the locker rooms and restrooms will be. In this area, this is where the basketball courts will be constructed. Moving a little bit further back in the next sequence, we can see that the piers and the beams are going in to conclude this portion of the construction, and this is where I believe the racquetball courts will be under construction shortly. We also have work proceeds on the multi-purpose field behind the rec center, a place where we're going to be having soccer. The berms are in, and the field itself will be under construction within the next month or so. Bricks. We've mentioned bricks several times already this evening. This is how we've made our brick selections, and as I understand it, we have somewhere on the order of 580,000 bricks currently on site at the rec center. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the construction report.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Item 13 now is Dr. Garcia's report to the board.
And since I'm not the favorite part of it, I'll try to be at least the last part of it.
Scratch that. That was my second favorite.
I'd like to just talk about a couple of items. First of all, that we wrapped up our anniversary year celebration during a very special fall convocation event Monday, August the 20th at Jacob Brown Auditorium. Keeping with the coming-of-age theme, individuals who played an integral role in developing the partnership were honored for their contributions in shaping the university and helping it become the university and institution it is today. During the event, we recognized the founders of the partnership. It included former trustees, UT system administrators, faculty and staff from the partnership, from the task force, legislators. Also in attendance, very special guest, and that was former Governor Ann Richards' daughter, Ellen Richards. She gave a very heartfelt speech and let us know that one of her mother's greatest achievements as governor was the establishment of UT Brownsville. We also recognize the people today who are keeping the promise to the community that was made 16 years ago. Many of our trustees that were able to join us, of course, Mr. Gonzalez, Mrs. Breedlove, Dr. Robles, and Mr. Oliveira. We also had a special message from our new Executive Vice Chancellor, Dr. David Pryor, While he's only been on the job since mid-June, Dr. Pryor has embraced our mission. I believe I'm accurate in saying that he said we were the most beautiful campus in the UT system on the record.
Right. You heard right.
That's right. And he says, now, even though these are just first impressions, I have to tell you that I have seen a vision here for higher education where it can change lives, change local economic and social futures. However, the highlight of the event really came at the very end when former students came forward to tell their stories. We had lawyers, educators, nurses come forward and talk about what a difference coming to UTB-TSC had been in their lives. And it really was it was a spectacular moment for all of us as we listened to their stories. So I thank all of you for your participation, for being there, and for allowing us to wrap this up this year. I also would like to thank Dr. Olivia Rivas and her committee, who organized so many of these events with the help of every dean on campus, with the help of department chairs, staff. Every month we had an anniversary activity. It brought in many friends to our campus, many alumni, and allowed us to pause and thank those folks who had worked so hard. But this summer, we also received an awful lot of money, and I'd like to talk about that for just a minute, because sometimes we talk only about expenditures and revenue out, but we got a lot of revenue in, and we got it in because people have been working very hard applying for grants and working to be smart about those applications and the initiatives that they would represent. From the coordinating board, we received $750,000 award that Peter mentioned earlier for the redesign grants project of courses in pairing developmental reading with online government, breaking barriers in developmental mathematics, and elementary statistics course redesign. Many folks are involved in all of these grants, and we thank them very, very much for getting this extra money that's needed to reconfigure courses, help students be more successful in the courses, and then put them online. We also received our first students this semester in our Math and Science Academy. We're very, very proud of this. We've been waiting for it. As you know, we went to the legislature 2 sessions ago and asked for permission to begin a Math and Science Academy in the community, and this is open to 11th and 12th graders. We have 29 students in our inaugural class. They're brilliant nerds, and I mean that lovingly. They're these wonderful students. They were here with their parents. We had lunch with them, box lunch earlier this week. They will be able to come to our campus. They are here now. They'll receive their high school diploma from the University of Texas at Brownsville's Math and Science Academy. They will also at the same time receive their associate degree from Texas Southmost College at the same time. I mean, that's the plan for them, because they'll be taking concurrent or dual enrollment courses. But they'll be on our campus. They'll be headquartered here. They've made the decision to leave each of their individual campuses and all that that means and come to the university. And I have to tell you, you just had to sit there and listen to their parents and to watch them talk about the decision-making process that they had to go through to leave the band that they had been in or to leave the team they had been playing with and take that fast track forward to a college education. All of this, of course, is without tuition charge because they're part of our dual enrollment program. So they're going to be able to get 2 years of college courses taught by professors here at the university and launched into their career with no money out. We hired, this is only the second one in the state of Texas to be established. The other one is at North Texas State University. Their claim to fame is where their students are recruited to. So we will have on campus, I'm sure, in 2 years, MIT, Stanford, and others, Caltech, coming to recruit our students. Our job will be to try to hold on to them for just 2 more years to complete their bachelor's degree before they're recruited by others. The students in this class are from various parts of the valley, including Brownsville, Port Isabel, Harlingen, and San Benito. The faculty and the students in the School of Ed will be studying the group also to figure out how they learn. So there's going to be a bit of research that's going to be going on to discover how these students, what's different about them, why math and science is important to them, who sparked their interest in these courses, and how we could better prepare our future teachers to deal with these kind of students in the future. The students are being recruited to our chess team, to our fine arts, bands and choirs, and hopefully to involvement in our student government. Everybody is looking at, and Professor Rick Janae was there to recruit them to gravitational wave astronomy as well. I'd like to thank Dr. Deloria Nance Davis, who was responsible for helping us design much of what now we see as part of the Math and Science Academy. Dr. Stephen Rosales, who has come on to help us with K through 16 activities, and to our new principal, Mr. Edward Argueta. He is the former principal of the Technology, Math, and Science Academy up the valley. His school was named one of the top 10 in the nation, so we could not have found a better person to be the principal of our own Math and Science Academy. So I ask you to welcome them, and we're going to put little badges or hats on them so we know which ones they are, so we can all kind of watch that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia.
Mr. Chairman, do you think maybe we could have some of the students come?
We'll invite them, of course.
Yes.
We'll invite them to come to your board meeting.
And we thank you for making that effort to do. I know it was a lot of cooperation from a lot of people to do this, and I think it's a big step for the university, and we're excited to have these students on our campus, and it's a new program for our area, so I think it's real exciting, and we thank you for the effort that and you and so many have made for this.
Dr. Carl Stockton.
And Dr. Stockton, yes, he was.
As our dean in helping make all of this happen as well.
I look at Dr. Robles, I can just imagine him thinking, if they had this when I was a kid, right?
It would have been fantastic.
I'm not saying that you're a nerd, okay?
Great. For all the years that you put in, you kind of do have to stay focused,
Sure,
you know. So this
exactly.
I think the entire environment is going to be very positive for these young boys and girls that are going to be entering the class.
Expectations very high on their part, too. Yeah. These are serious young students.
And this is a win-win for the students. Just imagine and for us too, if they complete, when they complete this academic program and they get recruited by Stanford, well, the kids going to Stanford, and if we keep them here, they're ours also. We trained them, so I think it's a great program that has been it's so innovative and it's going to be so rewarding to these students and their families. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Okay, the last item on the agenda is the meetings of the board. And
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I will not be here on September the 26th, Wednesday.
Okay.
I'll be out of town. Jeez.
Thank you. The board meetings are as follows: Wednesday, September the 26th, Thursday, October 25th, Thursday, November 29th, Thursday, December the 20th, and then the PAC committee will meet in Austin on December the 6th. So, any announcements other than, yes, sir?
Mr. Chairman, all the numbers that Joe passed around, I want to know the bottom line. Will our taxes increase or not?
No, sir. No.
No?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera.
We want that recorded, that we got a blessing from Mr. Dr. Barrera. Thank you, Mr. Barrera.
Thank you, Balaco. So, there's no more other announcements? Yes. Absolutely. Come on up. Rogelio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, audience. I'd just like to, again, address Dr. Julia Garcia. I'd like to thank her for attending our first annual State of the Student Address, which I'd like to announce that was a complete success. We had between about 180 to 200 students, and we had 3 days to campaign for it at the first week of school, so we hope to be the first of many. And at the address, I stated to the students that I had a commitment for them and I plan to work in each and every day as a student government president. But there's also another commitment I have to make, and that is to this university. Not only am I their president, but I have to also address the members of the board and the administration and work together. I should not feel to be a president for the students that will attack this institution, but rather to, whenever a question is raised by them, they have a concern, not to look at the university as an enemy, but rather as someone trying to help them along the way. Being someone with SAP, which is something I address to them, letting them know that with a higher GPA, they could have a better sense of pride, a better sense of appreciation of this university, and also reminding them that with a college degree, it's not guaranteeable that they will be without unemployment, but they will have employability for the rest of their life. And that in mind, I'd just like to again thank you, and anything you need on my behalf on SGA, I'd be more than glad to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger, very much. Okay. So we stand adjourned.